Hello and welcome to the first part of a Let's Play series testing out an early version of the Romhack Final Fantasy Reconstructed by Duke2Go, who will herefore be known as Duke. This is a newer Romhack of this game, although I understand it is based on an early build of what would later become Gran's Final Fantasy. I'll be giving my thoughts on this as we go through, and I'm picking characters and naming them based on some of my Final Fantasy I inspirations. We have Esper there, named for Astral Esper. We have Sulla, who is a Final Fantasy I and 5 challenge run player. We have Grand, who probably needs no introduction, and we have Zonk, the white mage there, named for Zonk Miles, who programmed Final Fantasy ZZ, which is another Romhack. I am playing this hack more or less blind at the time of this recording. This is an early build of the hack, or I should say an incomplete build of the hack. And as of now, there is no README or no full guide available, which is fine. So I will be giving my thoughts and opinions based on what I observe. Differences between the vanilla version and some of the other Final Fantasy hacks. Now, what we'll notice right away here is difference in the graphical textures and the sprites. I understand that Duke's favorite Final Fantasy, or one of Duke's favorite Final Fantasy games, is Final Fantasy IV, and the vision for this is a possible look at what Final Fantasy IV may have looked like had it stayed on the NES rather than going to the Super NES. So right away we can see the graphics have been updated or changed pretty significantly in the villages. Now, sometimes this, for me, is appealing, and in some places, it's a little bit busy for my eyes. The world map textures here are very similar. I haven't seen any, as of yet, changes to the world map design, although I believe there may be some additional villages in this game, or additional places to visit in this game. I chose the party setup that I did because I want to try out as many of the different mechanics as I can. For the black belt position there, I'm mostly curious about how the black belts grows in this, to see if that has been changed, how their damage grows as the game goes on. Probably would have been better to choose a thief to see how the thief has been rebalanced, or not, maybe, with the rest of the characters, but I can't resist going for a black belt or a monk in this one. I'll be watching to see how his hits and his damage grow. And then, of course, the white mage and black mage, I would like to see what those level 8 spells look like for both. So I'll actually be leveling these characters up high enough to where we're getting some level 8 charges, which is higher than I normally would play in a vanilla game. And I probably wouldn't go for a black mage in a vanilla game. I would just go for the red mages, because they are plenty powerful enough when combined with some big bruisers. Now again, I'm playing this relatively blind, so I'm not sure what kinds of changes have been made to the mechanics of the game. Already in that first battle with the imps and the gray imps, we've seen their names have been updated, and also their sprites have been changed to some sprites that resemble sprites that were used in Final Fantasy 2 and 3. Some of these might be Final Fantasy 4. You can already see here in the very first town, there's a Moogle sprite running around. I'm taking a look at the stats of all my characters so you can see which ones are showing up. I'm noticing that the magic evasion stat is still hidden, as it is in the vanilla version. But a common change in several hacks is the way the fonts and the letters are used, so that you can have longer names and you can have full versions of things and not just block capitals text. So I'm just going around the opening area here to see some of these new enemies. So you can see the imps are not the original Final Fantasy I imps, and I'm not sure why specifically we made a change on that one. I'm guessing this is just an aesthetic choice by the hacker, because certainly the Final Fantasy I sprites, as they were, in my opinion, pretty expressive. These ones are a little bit more clear, and I think that's probably why the choice was made. These sprites, it's a little bit more clearly defined what they are as a little imp or a goblin with a knife. Here we're hitting our first battle in the marsh or the swamp. Looking at the battle layouts, a couple things you notice is that the window colors in the battle are blue, which kind of reflects what the default would be in later Final Fantasies. Also, the Windows system has been cut back greatly. Your characters are no longer in a window. We have a different sprite there for the Temple of Fiends, or the Shrine of Chaos, as it would be, I think, in later versions. Here we have the Wolf-Grey Wolf combo, and you can see those sprites have been changed to a sprite design similar to what it would be in a later game, the Wolf and the Warg. They have a more humanoid werewolf kind of look to them than in the original FF1 vanilla sprites are more quadrupedal wolves, if that makes sense. They look more like wild animal wolves. I'm exploring this because in the vanilla version there is a treasure room down here and to the left in the vanilla version, and I'm looking in those jars because I don't know, again, what to expect, and I don't know if those jars are aesthetic only or if there could possibly be treasure in those jars. So I'm going to save up. As far as I know, you still have to use an item to save in this game. I have not discovered a way to save for free. And here we have our first big FF4 reference. We have the text there hasn't been changed, I don't believe, but Golbez sprite for Garland, and then the actual in-battle Garland sprite has had his colors changed to match his field sprite, I guess you would call it. The Golbez looking field sprite. So he has a blue and darker purple coloring. In the vanilla FF1, the Garland field sprite has kind of purple and gold, like a royal purple armor with gold shoulder pads or shoulder plates. And then his battle sprite is much more gray and silver. So that was a nice touch, I believe, to make Garland's battle sprite match his on-screen field sprite. And also, I'm glad that we didn't change Garland's sprite too much or go for another knight sprite from a different game, because Garland is just an iconic character. And there's Princess Sarah. And so here we have the bridge being ordered to be built. Now, a difference between vanilla here, besides, of course, the redesigned area, the redesigned layout, a much more complex background there, is that Princess Sarah is not waiting right next to the king. And I believe Sarah also, well, Sarah might have an H in the old one. I can't remember now at this point. Here I check the sink, and it has a "Come wash your face," which is what you see in a couple of fountains in towns in the vanilla version. But in this one, I'm finding lots of sinks that will have that same text prompt of "See your face upon the clean water. Look how dirty, come wash your face." So I believe that person back there was the queen, who I think is named Jane. Is it Queen Jane? So I'm looking for Princess Sarah because in the vanilla version, at least, Princess Sarah is the one who has the loot, which you need for much later, and which the item that speedrunners often forget after they finish that. Here I think I may have found Sarah. And there we go. So these castle tiles, I think, are a nice upgrade. Some of the town tiles get a little bit too busy for my eye, but the castle upgrades do seem to be nice for me. They work out well for me. You also notice real quickly right there the B dashing, which is kind of a common upgrade for lots of new hacks of this game. The ability to dash with B. And in the first purchase there, I did not get armor for my characters. Here I'm checking to make sure that the black belt can still equip the leather armor, because as of right now, his level isn't quite high enough to get him the natural absorb that he needs to get over what he can get from armor. Eventually, I'll be taking that armor off, because black belts have a natural built-in absorb when they are naked that is equal to their level. But right now, he's not quite level 4, so the leather armor will be an upgrade for him. Also, I'm noticing there's not a nunchuck weapon available here in this first town. There's not the wooden nunchuck weapon, so I don't have a choice in that one. He does get 2 hits, but you'll notice right now it's 2 hits for 2 damage. So the black belt is characteristically weak here in the early game, so that certainly has not changed. And the black belt, of course, resembles the Yang sprite from FF4. White Mage has the cat ears White Mage, which I think maybe came from Final Fantasy III when we first saw the cat ear White Mage, and we would see it again other times. My favorite is the Kara White Mage sprite from Final Fantasy V. She has the cute White Mage and the cute Zerker. She has all the cutesy little characters. So there we have 2 hits for 3 damage, and the black belt, his power will drastically increase when he gets his hits doubled from 2 hits to 4 hits, because most of his power lies in critical hits, and his damage is so level based. So critical hits get through some of the defense of these monsters. So when he doubles to 4 hits, he will get extra chances for crits, and that's when you can see his damage really start to amp up, as he'll have 4 hits, and he's much more likely to get at least 1 critical to land when he has 4. He's also much less likely to completely miss, which he will do once in a while. So there he missed 1 of his hits, landed 1, and it hit for 2, which was enough to take that down. So we're up to level 3 now, so we're even on experience all the way up. I'm heading back towards the Temple of Fiends to see what I can find out about that treasure. I'm trying to see what's going on with the treasure rooms in the Temple of Fiends before I head on to the bridge, and so their journey begins. You can see the Mad Ponies have been renamed Crazy Horse, and they have a different sprite. I'm not familiar with which game that sprite came from, so I won't make a guess at it, but the sprites have been colored to resemble the Mad Ponies with that kind of yellow-green body color with the purplish mane and hair of the old Mad Ponies. Again, I'm not sure specifically why that sprite was updated. I'm guessing it was just a personal choice. We're looking at these imp battles and battles in general. Things work pretty much the same. You still have to target characters correctly. You can't have everybody target one enemy and have their attacks reassigned or retargeted if that enemy dies. I'm not sure if that's something... I'm not a hacker of this game. I'm not sure if that's something that would be easy to build in. I'm guessing not, because I have not seen it mentioned much in the hacking forums that I have looked at, and I have not seen it used in any of the hacks of this game that I've played. I suppose it would significantly change the way these battles go, but you really have to have awareness as you're going through these battles. You have to know or have a guess at about how many hit points each enemy will have, and about how much damage your characters can do. Now here's the creeps, which are commonly renamed Gigas Worms. Probably a better naming for what they are. That sprite looks unchanged, at least to my eye. Here again we have the double creep combo, but it looks like that sprite was kept the same. And here I'm noticing there's a room, and here's the treasures. So we have a cure potion, a leather helmet, and a cabin. Now I assume that the leather helmet functions like the armor that is called a cap, C-A-P, in the vanilla version. And that's one of the things that you find in the Temple of Fiends on this left side, although they're spread out a little bit differently. There's a couple of chests on the bottom and chests up at the top. Here, all of those chests were right there on that side. These deadheads, I am not exactly sure what these are. They could be ghoul enemies. I'm only making a guess here. But it looks like they have about 50 hit points, because the harms that did less than 50, at least to my observation there, did not kill them. And again, we have pretty busy tile sets here on these dungeon floors, which makes them a little less dungeony. I'm sure that was an intentional choice. That the Temple of Fiends seems to be in better shape in the present time in this one. It doesn't look like it's crumbling quite as much on the outside and on the inside. Now here I see some chests, and I see a monster sprite. What to do, what to do. And I flee. I'm going to come back for that monster sprite, and I was going to see what's going on. I haven't saved recently enough to want to walk up to that sprite and see what's going on. There's a spider, and they are just about as lucrative a battle as they are in the vanilla version. And so I am running for my life from that monster sprite guarding those chests. It's possible that he will just tell me they're guarded. I might mean that the mystic key has been changed, and it is something that'll get me through that sprite. It might be a boss battle. I have no way of knowing, and I was not brave enough to find out. So we are going to head to the bridge. As you notice, the rapier sprite looks more like a rapier and not like a broadsword. That was a nice touch. I don't know if that's a new sprite or if Duke reused another sprite from the game. It's not like the scimitar sprite, I don't think. It's similar to the scimitar, but I don't think it's a recoloring of the built-in scimitar sprite. So that may have been another built-in one, or one that was brought from another game. Either way, I think it's a nice touch to make the rapier actually look like a real rapier. Here, you notice you can walk over some of those water tiles that are adjacent, so that's been changed a little bit too. So here we are at the bridge, and that's where we're going to end this first video. We'll check out the text here, and we'll pick it up from the bridge. We'll see what's going on with that monster in the Temple of Fiends, and what's going on over in Provoca when we come back in the next video. Thanks for watching!